In yet another traffic jam on the roads, people, as usual, don't understand what the hell is going on. The most offended of them notices a guy with a sword walking among the cars. The man asks a passerby about the situation on the road, thinking that there was an accident. But in the same instant, the guy vaporized, as if he wasn't even here. A second later, he was already standing on the car. At that moment, everyone suddenly started getting out of their cars, and on top of that, they were scared of something. The guy standing on the car was looking at some unknown red nonsense in the sky, saying that those things had gotten to him. Pointing his blade at the red hole, he orders everyone to run as the monsters are about to appear. The people, by the way, had already realized that a gate had opened here, and so they ran as fast as they could. The guy with his shining blade stood in a very cool pose, hinting that it was about to get hot. The hellhounds tore at our boy, but he left a handful of black substance behind at the same second. In the same place, but a little later, a group of people appear, apparently a reinforcement squad. The blonde-haired man, looking at the situation, thought it was very strange. He thought there was an open gate, but there are no monsters nearby. The man orders the people to disperse, identifying himself as a raider. The blonde man didn't understand why there was no one in sight, but as they raised their human heads, they froze in horror. A huge monster numbered 43 appeared before them. It was the Drake, and it was of unrealistically large size. The people froze in horror, for the Drake was ready to incinerate them all, but someone was already hanging in the air, which meant only one thing: this monster would not live. The young man resolutely slashed the huge monster with just one attack. After Drake's deafening fall, the man with the beard wondered, who was this guy? And it's simple. That guy with the dragon on his jacket is the one who took away your bread. Simply put, he's a rat who kills monsters that don't belong to him. Actually, that guy with the good looks is named Lee Se-min, a step that for some will be nothing, but for others it may be the cause of falling off a cliff. One word is enough to stop a person at the edge. The voice told Lee Se-min that he was not a coward at all, and these words changed absolutely everything. Ever since monsters started appearing in the world, people have been divided into raiders and everyone else. The guy arrived at the local raider bureau. The girl behind the counter invited Seaman to come further. The guy clasped his hands, almost stuttering from excitement. Reserve raiders are awakened, who are regularly tested by the raider bureau for aura readings. Only awakened with an aura above a certain level are eligible to become full-fledged raiders. The doctor noted that this was not the guy's first time here, so she didn't need to explain everything. The woman also reminded him that Seaman has to go to the army next year. He had previously made excuses to take tests, but he can't dodge them anymore. The doctor was well aware of his situation, but noted that it could not go on forever. She suggested that the guy get a referral to a psychologist. Seaman assured him that he would just take the test and go. The woman reminded him that he would not be able to get out of it next year. The doctor noted that the value had not changed since last year and remained 103. All awakened ones have an aura value that starts at 100 and then starts to increase. Its value has not changed since the guy found out that he is awakened. He gritted his teeth and trained hard, but then he realized that he had no talent to become a raider. He understood this because the meaning of the aura did not change at all. The doctor said they were finished and asked them to sign the documents. Once upon a time, Seaman believed that he would be able to achieve what he wanted. However, reality slapped the guy in the face. Arriving home, he headed to the computer, deciding that today was a great day for games. Seaman froze, looking at the information on the monitor. He saw a board of participants, hints, and special participants without any idea what kind of site it was. Opening the participants board, the guy ran his eyes over the entries of other players. Seaman couldn't believe that there were still idiots with 8th grade syndrome. The guy decided that the words of a reasonable person would help the person with the form, and he would finally return to reality. Suddenly, hearing a crunching sound, Seaman stated that it was the sound of his parents' necks breaking. The guy advised me to stop living at the expense of my ancestors, go outside and breathe some air. Seaman decided to look at the news, immediately frowning in displeasure at what he read. The guy was unhappy that An Sung-joon reached platinum. Seaman hoped that this was just some kind of joke. They used to see each other face to face every day. This idiot was bullying the guy. That's why Seaman was really angry that this man had now reached platinum. The guy tore off the sticker, carefully reading his training schedule. He was so angry that he clenched his fist, crumpling the sticker. Seaman dropped out of school to become a raider. Now he's just an armchair critic who can't pass a test. Looking at the monitor, the guy didn't understand why this site was back on. After seeing the other person's responses to his post, Seaman decided that he was completely crazy. The boy laughed cheerfully, offering this great magician to find him. Engrossed in his correspondence, he didn't even notice the glow that appeared behind him. The woman who came out of the portal asked what he was going to do to her. Samin froze, looking at the stranger in surprise. The woman said she was interested in seeing what the guy was like, but she wasn't thrilled with what she saw. The guy recoiled in fear, not understanding what was happening. Suddenly, a thick vine wrapped itself around Samin, making it difficult for him to breathe. The woman asked menacingly why he was yelling. Noticing how the guy was twitching in the vine, the stranger noted that he was very weak. He wasn't even fit to hold a candle to an insect, and she didn't understand how he got into the transcendental network in the first place. The woman waved her staff, causing the boy to rise up. She asked who he was, and Samin promised that he would tell her everything if she let him go. The woman smelled her hand, and the vines disappeared, causing the guy to fly to the ground. Samin asked fearfully who she was, and the woman introduced herself as Iana. She noted that the guy was a good liar, although she didn't understand why he would lie about being a raider. Samin assured that this was true, adding that he had not yet become a full-fledged raider. The guy explained that in the world there are ordinary people and raiders who have an aura. Usually they are the ones who hunt monsters. And he is an awakened one with an aura. Iana asked the guy to show his aura. Samin tensed, trying to squeeze out everything he could. The woman asked with disappointment if that was all. Iana didn't understand. She thought it was some kind of joke. The woman's eyes flashed with a pink glow. The guy recognized this as an irresistible force. It turns out that transcendents are monsters. Iana glared at the guy. Samin immediately began to beg not to kill him. They started knocking persistently on the door, asking if everything was okay with the guy. Samin was quick to assure that he was fine. The woman was upset that she had spent the points she had saved so diligently because of this loser. Iona angrily asked how the guy got into the transcendental network. He admitted that he himself did not know. He just turned on the laptop. The woman had no idea what it was and, looking at the laptop, noted that it looked very strange. Jonah told him to continue, but the boy had nothing more to say. While looking at Samin's stickers, the woman asked him to tell her about himself. The guy assured that there was nothing interesting in his life. He just went through a lot of bad moments, and here he is. The woman decided that by ended up here, he meant living in a pigsty. Jonah called the guy pathetic, but he knew it himself. The woman asked if he had tried to change anything in his life. Her words were cruel, but they didn't hurt Samin at all. On the contrary, he began to tell her about how he became an orphan at an early age and was adopted by his current parents, that he realized he was awakened at school. However, due to bullying, he never finished school, and about the aura indicators, which have not changed for 6 years. Iona noted that this is a rather sad story. The woman stood up abruptly and declared that it was time for her to go. She promised that if the guy wrote nasty things again, she would come and kill her and reminded him not to forget to write an apology. In parting, Iona noted that the world is by its nature cruel and unfair. She advised him to go outside and start doing something. He was a human being and should live, not just exist. The guy asked if he could meet her again. The woman assured that they could if he became a transcendent. Samin decided that he had to face his fears. He wondered if he would be able to become transcendental. Sitting down at the laptop, the guy immediately wrote the promised apology. He declared to the sisters and brothers of the Transcendental Network that Samin was bowing his head. Since then, browsing the Transcendental Web has become part of his daily life. The guy noted that Kyan hadn't posted photos for a long time. Dark Lion Kyan was born to a nobleman and a slave. After his mother was killed by a noble, he used his sword skills to become a mercenary. He then exterminated all the nobles and became the most powerful swordmaster on the continent. Kyan posted a family photo. He noted that the husband and wife looked somewhat alike. Ghostblade Fergan was one of the finest swordsmen. The man admitted that he liked one girl and asked the guy for advice on how to get her. Recently, Samin's sides have been a little sore. He advised starting with an emotional message and asking where her wings went, and then say that he simply mistook the girl for an angel. And the moment the girl smiles, he says that her smile breaks his heart. Samin added that he couldn't stop there. He had to keep pushing until she fell head over heels in love with him. The man thanked him for the advice and promised that he would visit the guy as soon as he collected enough points. When interacting with transcendents, Samin noticed one common trait. They never put off what they had to do. They always keep their promises, do not make excuses, and do not run away from their responsibilities. The guy admitted that, unlike all of them, he was just a slacker. He decided he needed to face the truth. He couldn't become a raider. Taking the bottle standing on the table, the guy began to drink straight from the neck. When he finished, he simply plopped down on the bed. He didn't understand why they gave him this aura at all. Samin had never imagined anything else in his life. He wanted to achieve his goal and prove to himself that he had made the right choice. He wanted to show everyone that he was not a loser. But it's stuck at 103, and that number hasn't changed for 6 years. Seaman couldn't even get out of bed. After taking another sip from the bottle, the guy wrote on the forum that he wanted to change. After a few moments, Seaman came to his senses, realizing that he had fallen asleep. The guy noticed that he had posted something strange while drunk. Seaman began reading the responses of other users who strongly supported his desire to change. The guy responded to this with only great gratitude. A voice from behind asked if it was really him, the unemployed Seaman. The guy froze, not understanding who was there and afraid to turn around. He noted that the stranger had a very sharp voice, like sharpened metal. Seaman decided that it was one of the transcendents. The stranger put his hand on the guy's back, forcing him to bend. He noted that the guy was helpless, depressed, and had a weak will. Seaman felt as if a huge number of snakes were biting his body at the same time. He remembered the words of the guy who told him to keep his head down. Seaman gathered all his strength into a fist, trying to turn towards the stranger. He noted with surprise that it turned out the guy hadn't given up yet. He added that Lee Seaman had a very good name. The guy froze, not understanding where they were. The man said he was the best demon hunter of all time. He thought that the guy was not a weakling at all. The guy concluded that the world obeys certain laws. He considered Jonah to be very strong, but the power of this transcendent is beyond reason. The man recommended him to collect points to gain access to the hint board. He promised to leave a message for the boy there. Seaman tried to stop the stranger, but he had already disappeared. The guy froze in confusion, deciding that it was just a dream. Seaman felt a sharp pain and noticed a cut on his arm. He remembered the words the stranger had said about him not being a weakling. The guy noted that he suddenly felt lighter. Seaman decided to clean up the apartment first. The guy stood up, stretching his back, happy that the cleaning was finished. Seaman noted that now there was only one piece of trash left in the room, and that was it. He needed to remember the encounter with the transcendence. And he absolutely had to remember those words. Dressing in a tracksuit, the guy assured himself that he was not a coward. Seaman began to eat his food furiously. He couldn't believe how hungry he was after a 10-minute run. The guy stopped, realizing that this was not right. Gathering all his will into a fist, he decided that he needed to run again. Deep down, he knew it would be difficult for him to go it alone. When he went inside, the guy asked if there was anyone there. Seaman froze in surprise, looking at the man who was working. The stranger who approached noted that he was seeing the guy for the first time. He assumed that Seaman had come to exercise. The man introduced himself as Kim Dokbae and said he was glad to meet them. He assured that he immediately understood why the guy came here. He smelled the smell. As he approached, Dokbae guessed that Seaman had recently eaten chicken. The man decided that the guy wanted to do some sports today, did some exercises, and decided to reward himself with a chicken. He really didn't like this approach. Taking Seaman's hand, Dokbae stated that he needed to warm up first. Since the guy came here, it means we need to start from today. The man noted that the boy had once been involved in sports. This meant that he already had the basics, he just needed to work hard on his body. Seaman could barely endure the workout, convincing himself to keep running on the treadmill. The man asked if it was hard for him, and the guy suggested taking a break. Dokbae told him to remember forever that he must not stop. Seaman knew that he couldn't go around in circles any longer. He has no aura, and there is nothing left of his pride. The man told him to continue and not stop, even if he felt like he was on the verge of death. Seaman was breathing heavily. It seemed to him that he was about to kick the bucket. Smiling, the man said goodbye, telling him to come back tomorrow. He noted that the guy was a pretty cool guy. Seaman looked at him in surprise and could only squeeze out a thank you. Finally, he felt the long-awaited taste of achieving something. Today, he took the first step towards his dream. The boy remembered that the best demon hunter told him to look at the hint board. Seaman saw that he didn't have enough points. He had no idea how to collect them. The guy saw that he received a quest to lose weight to 100 kilo and below. Seaman said that he will lose weight to 100 kilo no matter what it takes. The coach told him to keep running even if he died. Looking at himself in the mirror, the guy noticed that he had lost a little weight. He assured himself that he would definitely cope. Seaman decided that he would do interval training today. A girl running past was surprised that the guy was running again. When she first saw him, he looked like a huge pig. Now he has changed a lot. Seaman gathered all his strength into a fist and pulled himself up again. He won't be able to become stronger unless he starts working on himself. Seaman continued to reassure himself that he was not a coward. The girl noted that the guy was serious. Approaching Seaman, the girl said that he always trains so hard. She added that she met him on his first day and noted that it is rare to meet such goal-oriented guys. Seimin just nodded in response and said that it was time for him to go. The girl didn't understand why she decided to talk to him at all. The guy noted that the girl smelled like a raid, although the smell was weak. He thought she had at least a blue mark. The physical capabilities of raiders are far superior to those of ordinary people, even if we are talking about low-ranking riders. In addition, the huge rewards they received for risking their lives created a sense of privilege. As an intern, he knew this firsthand. The man told him to pack his things and go home, because he had no chance anyway except for a blue mark. There was an insurmountable wall between the riders, not to mention riders and ordinary people. The girl ran alongside, warning that she was going to overtake. Turning around, she stuck out her tongue and called the guy fat. She wished him good luck, even though she thought that even that wouldn't help. The guy hurried to check his laptop, wondering who had posted what today, and saw a post from Miyana. At first, the woman seemed frightening to him, but in reality, she turned out to be sweet and affectionate. Seamin forced himself to focus on the quest. The system has started weighing the participant. Seamin jumped up from his seat when he saw that he was missing all 2 grams. The guy suggested that maybe he just needed to go to the toilet. He decided that he needed to get rid of the water. The system congratulated the participant on his weight being 99.9 and gave him 100 points as a reward. Seamin was offered to use points to level up and he agreed. Now the guy has access to the hint board. On the hint board, reading posts cost 100 points and creating them cost 200. If someone reads his post, he gets 10 points. In honor of his first visit to the tip board, Seamin was given the opportunity to read 1 post for free. The guy decided to look at the very post that was dedicated to him. The post stated that those who are subject to asphyxiation cannot complete the heavenly circle. Their internal ki cannot circulate properly and repents like smoke. If Seamin masters the correct techniques and returns to the cycle, he will be able to get out of this state. The best demon hunter of all time passed on to the boy the supreme divine art he had created. He ordered to pay his respects and follow the instructions. All this time, Seamin perceived the aura as an instrument of control and power. However, the best demon hunter treats aura as something alive. That was the answer. The guy noted that great mercy is not easy. Seamin would be willing to make this decision hundreds of times if he knows for sure that it will help him change. The guy decided to concentrate. He imagined himself threading a needle. The best demon hunter of all time said that the aura flows through the body like water, spreading everywhere, as if taking root. This means he needs to focus on the obstacles that the aura is trying to pass through, and he must break through them in one motion. Seamin cried out in satisfaction at what he had accomplished. The guy said that he would definitely be able to become stronger. Private Academy for Training Writers, T-Song Academy. The boy told the teacher that someone had come to see him. The man was a little surprised, as he had no idea who it could be. Seamin smiled, noting that it had been a long time since they had seen Master Huang Jung-hoon. The man was incredibly surprised. He was glad that even though the guy didn't become a writer, he managed to change. The teacher told the boy to call him brother and offered him a drink. Seamin said that he came here because of his aura. The boy asked the teacher to take a look at her once. Jung-hoon informed the boys that he would be leaving for a short while and that they should continue training. The man suggested starting with measuring the value of the aura. Seamin asked what was there, and Jung-hoon suggested that he take a look for himself. Opening his eyes, the boy saw the value 1034. The teacher congratulated him on the fact that his curse was over. Seamin was shocked. He had only been practicing the techniques for a month, but his aura value had increased so much. The man asked him how he did it. Seamin admitted that he had met someone by chance, and he had given him some advice. Jung-hoon noted that this was amazing and suggested that they try a duel. He said there was a kid here who liked to show off and he needed someone to teach him a lesson. The teacher was confident that Seamin would easily defeat him. He was determined and immediately agreed. The boy was surprised that the man wanted him to challenge him to a duel and asked how much aura he had. The teacher replied that he had about 1,000. The guy assumed that his opponent was one of Huang Jung-hoon's students. He introduced himself as Yu Jin-se. They were supposed to have hand-to-hand combat without weapons. The man gave the signal to begin the fight. Jin-se was confident that he could destroy his opponent with just his aura. Seamin was able to easily dodge the attacker's attacks. The guy tried to punch Jin-se in the face. After stopping his attack with aura, the boy asked if Seamin was hurt. He agreed that the guy had some basics, but he kept waiting for him to start acting seriously. Having knocked his opponent to the ground, Jin-se thought that it was the end. However, when Seimin himself grabbed his opponent and threw him on his back, the guy was surprised that he knew jujitsu. Raiders typically don't spend much time studying martial arts like jujitsu. Since they fight monsters, they see no point in learning martial arts or painful techniques. So the guy didn't understand where he knew about jujitsu from. Jimsy tried to strike his opponent, but Seaman was further away. The guys laughed because the guy just punched the air. Jimsy stood up, full of rage and determination. He tried to strike, but Seaman managed to block his blow. Instead, the guy struck back straight at his opponent's jaw. When Jinsei fell to the ground, Seaman twisted his arms around him, preventing him from getting up. Jinsei didn't understand how the guy even dared to do such a thing to him, how he allowed himself to humiliate him in front of everyone. Everyone stood frozen in surprise, watching the fight. Lee Min-si told himself not to rejoice prematurely. That kid just didn't train properly and lacked motivation. His victory in sparring is the result of his hard training. It took him longer to manifest his strength. It had been building up inside the guy all this time. Now it was no surprise that Seaman was able to defeat his opponent. The guy's muscles were shaking from intense training. Seaman noticed the guys hanging around at the entrance. The boys looked at him with delight, not daring to approach him. Seaman saw a flyer with him in their hands before and after the training started. The guy exhaled tiredly, noting that it had become somehow hot. One of the guys decided to address Seaman, but he didn't like being called uncle. The guy asked if it was true that he had managed to change in just 3 months. When Seaman assured him that everything was so, the guy decided that he too could become like that. Seaman simply replied that they had approached the wrong person. The guy said that, first of all, they should show respect to the boss. A man approached from behind and greeted the newcomers. Putting his arm around their shoulders, he announced that he was Kin Duck Bay's coach. Having taken the boys, he invited them to speak in his office. A couple of minutes later, the coach said that these guys wanted to come like Semin, so they would follow the same training. The guy wasn't sure they could handle it. Doc Bay stated that they signed a contract that they could not refuse to go to the gym for any period of time. Seaman only wished the guys good luck. Remembering the tape, the guy decided to see what was new there. He started visiting the site from his phone a long time ago. It was only the boys' first day, but they already felt like they wanted to die. They looked at Seaman, who was calmly warming up in surprise. The boys had no idea what he was doing. Noticing his aura, the guys assumed that Seaman was a raider. The guy noted that it turned out that he was his older friend. Seaman noticed that recently people in the hall had started looking at him strangely. This was done by those newcomers who had recently become members of the training hall. The guy didn't understand why they were being so obvious, and it made him feel awkward. Seaman clearly wasn't interested in guys. One of the guys approached him, frightening the guy with his unexpected appearance. He admitted that he felt something while looking at Seaman. The guy said he knew who he was. Seaman had no idea what he was talking about. He assured that there was no point in hiding it, but the guy said that he was not hiding anything. The guy asked directly if Seaman was a rider. He only breathed a sigh of relief that his guesses turned out to be false. Seaman said that he is not quite a rider, but is only planning to take the exam, which will take place in a month. The guy admitted that he also wants to become a raider. Showing his aura, he said that he, like Seaman, was awakened. In response, Seaman asked why he didn't attend the Raider Academy. The guy said that his parents thought it was dangerous to be a raider, so he waited until he came of age and focused on his studies for now. Now he wants to strengthen his physical strength. There were many late bloomers among the raiders. Becoming a true raider requires not only aura, but time and effort. The guy said that he had to become a raider. After all, a raider is the coolest profession, taking first place in a study of career aspirations. Seaman asked if he knew how to control the aura, to which the guy replied that he knew a little. Seaman asked him to show it to him, causing the boy to be a little taken aback. Having concentrated, he began to demonstrate his abilities. Seaman noted that the guy was doing great and asked who helped him. He admitted that he watched a lecture by writer An Sung-jun. Seaman advised him to continue practicing, noting that control over the aura was very important. He added that the guy was very smart and he hoped that they would meet at the top. Looking at the happy guy who went to his friend, Seaman noted that it was a cool feeling. But a moment later, he realized that he needed to cheer himself up. The guy thought that authoritative fighter was a very cool title. He asked the best demon hunter to wait a little longer. The hint board was a great help to the boy in mastering new skills. Today, everything on the network was as usual. After finishing here, Seaman was planning to do some research to obtain his rider qualification. He was wondering if the advanced part of the test would be random this time too. The cherry on the cake of the raider qualification exam is the mandatory advanced section. Every year, All the tests are always different and no one knows what to expect. Even if you pass the written test, the aura assessment, and the combat skills assessment, you can often fail the final stage. Last year, it was the debate. Seimin didn't understand how the debate would be useful to the raiders. He thought it would be enough if the raiders fought well and killed monsters. When he saw the problem book for the advanced test, Seimin didn't believe that someone would actually spend money on this. The very next moment, he was asking how much the contribution was and asked to send him the account number. The guy thought that this would be enough. He confidently stated that the whole world will soon know the name Lee Seimin. The guy interrupted his training when he caught a strange smell. A girl running past stopped, turning her attention to Seimin. Coming closer, she asked if they knew each other. The girl noted that the guy had lost so much weight that she barely recognized him. Seimin asked her not to interfere and to go where she was going. The stranger apologized for being rude last time. The girl introduced herself as Kim Song-ha. In response, the guy also gave his name. Song-ha asked him if he was a writer, and the guy admitted that he was going to take the exam. The girl wished him luck and said that she would be there too. She would come to support the newcomer from their company. Seimin said that he was looking forward to meeting him. Noticing his grin, the girl assured him that the newcomer from her company was a real ace. The guy decided that she wanted to argue, but Song-ha didn't understand what he was talking about. Seimin proposed a bet on which of the two would win. The guy added that the winner will receive a wish. Song-ha clarified that there will be no refusals. The girl noted that just recently the guy was an ordinary piece of pork, but now he's acting like God knows what. It was 7:50 a.m., and they gathered at the entrance to the exam center. Seimin asked the brothers and sisters from the Transcendental Network to believe in him. In the crowd, he noticed that same guy, noting that his wounds had already healed. Seimin knew that he couldn't fail after everything he had been through. The guy assured himself that he would definitely cope. The first part of the exam is a written test. The guy heard that the difficulty of the written test has increased this year. It all looked really complicated. There seemed to be a lot of trick questions here. However, Seimin decided that persistent Tinder was worth the blood and sweat. He confidently told himself again that he could handle everything. Looking around, the guy noted that the others were having a hard time. If the first part was so difficult, Seimin was scared to imagine what awaited them in the advanced test. The warden ordered to finish, put down the pens, and raise the hands above the head. Anyone who moves from this point on will be officially disqualified. Seimin saw that the guy sitting next to him continued writing something. The next moment, a purple lightning bolt struck him. The man calmly noted that he had warned everyone. Seimin noticed that the examiner had a gold stamp. The man said that for raiders who put their own lives on the line, discipline is everything. If even one thing goes wrong, the slightest mistake, the entire team is at risk. After a moment of silence, the men wished everyone good luck. The guys immediately began to discuss the exam, claiming how difficult it was. Seimin also noted that it was hard, but he didn't think he failed. To obtain the qualification, the aura level value must be at least 5,000. When the guy was tested last time, the value was 5,100. The guys passing by noticed Seimin. The guy focused on clearing his mind and relaxing. He firmly believed that he would succeed. However, the ominous images of being drafted into the army haunted him. Seimin decided that he would follow his mentor's words. The highest limit symbolized the harmony of all things and phenomena of the universe. Manipulating the aura brought back many memories for the boy. When Seimin first spoke about wanting to become a raider, his adopted parents believed in him. The man quietly approached the guy and asked him what he was doing there. He noted that aura management must be done in a safe place. The man added that, of course, sometimes there is simply no choice. He admitted that he once did this in a forest teeming with monsters. Seimin thought that the man had been in a lot of dangerous battles, to which he simply replied that such was the fate of raiders. However, the battles inside the gates were especially memorable. After passing through the gate, they encountered a huge number of all kinds of creatures. In the Book of Monsters, there is an unidentified creature called the Black Castle. The first time they encountered him, the raiders were unable to obtain enough information to identify the monster, and no one has encountered him since. The man wanted to say something else, but the woman who entered warned him that the second part of the exam would soon begin. The examiner remembered that he was the one who was supposed to conduct it. The man said that it was time for the guy to go to the second floor for the next stage. He sincerely hoped that Seimin would have excellent results. The guy said that he came to measure his aura, and the woman asked him to wait. Hearing some shouts, Seimin tried to understand what was going on. He asked the guys who came out what happened. A passerby reported that the person who had just measured his aura had received a result of more than 30,000. Seaman was extremely shocked by this news. The guy couldn't even imagine that there were such people among them. Seaman was curious about the writer. The guy standing next to him said that her name was Pan Yubi, and she was a real beauty. The guys were surprised that it was a girl, strong, and also a beauty. Seaman remembered Song Ha's words about their new recruit. The guy asked if there had been anyone who had failed the test. The stranger standing nearby assured him that there couldn't be anyone with an aura below 5,000. Seaman remembered again that the last time his aura value was 5,100. The last candidate was invited into the office. The man told the boy to lie down on a special couch. When Seaman was in the right position, he announced that he was starting the procedure. A few moments later, the man reported that the guy's aura value was 7,180. Seaman was incredibly happy about this. He immediately began to bow and thank everyone around him. He also thanked the gentleman and wished him a year full of good luck. Pleased, Seaman asked the boy when his lessons would end and invited him to eat some meat together at his expense. Sitting in a cafe, the guy was thinking about how beautiful the world is. Suddenly, Seaman saw that same girl in the crowd. It angered him that Song Ha walked around so languidly, knowing that she had such a strong ace up her sleeve. The guy's attention was also drawn to the swords on the boys' belts. Captivated by his observation, Seaman didn't notice the guys who approached. When asked about the exam, the guy assured that it was as easy as pie. Seaman confessed that he realized something important today, so he is going to start living life to the fullest. He told the boys to eat until their bellies burst. After all, he doesn't treat them every day. The guy suggested that Seaman become the manager of a meat restaurant because he grills meat so well. Seaman remarked that if an ignoramus like him were to run a meat restaurant, it would be a disgrace to the nation. The guy added that it would be the same if he became a raider. Seaman decided that someone here needed to be taught a lesson, to which the guy noted that this already looked like an assassination attempt. Seaman immediately noticed the group that entered with that same girl. Song Ha greeted him cheerfully, noting that they met again. She told Yubi that this was the guy who said he could defeat her with his eyes closed. The girl just smiled sweetly and she and Seaman introduced themselves to each other. Song Ha wished them bon appetit and reminded them of their argument. Seaman shouted after him that he actually didn't say that. The guy asked who those girls were, noting that they were very beautiful. Seaman just said not to judge a book by its cover. He reminded the guys that they should choose a girl carefully and suggested going to karaoke. The boys turned around, trying to understand what was happening. Seaman immediately told Injae and Jimin to leave here. The guy noted that he had a bad feeling. Seaman remembered this feeling, deciding that it was a gate. He fearfully told the boys that the gates were opening here. The boys froze, looking at the appearing monsters. A monster pest appeared under system number 22. Sinkus. Everyone immediately started running in different directions, hoping to escape. Seaman froze, realizing that his body was not allowing him to move. Sun Ho announced that the Iron Horse unit had arrived and ordered everyone to go to the shelter. The girl also ordered Yubi to call a rescue team. Although the Iron Horse Association is not one of the big three, they are an elite raider company. Sun Ho confidently rushed forward towards the monster. Meanwhile, more monsters pests under system number 3, Yorg, appeared from the gate. Sun Ho immediately ordered the others to block the attack. One of the monsters rushed at a man standing nearby. Seaman knew that he had to come over and help him. He had trained hard for this, so he told his body to start moving. The boy saw Inza rushing to attack the monster. He stood, ready to defend himself with only a stick. Inze, a boy who had never been properly trained, fought bravely against the monster. Then, Seaman realized that the boy would become an incredible raider. However, the very next moment, the monster sank its fangs into Yingje's shoulder. Seaman finally got up from his seat, wanting to help the boy. He rushed towards Inja with tears in his eyes, hoping that he was okay. Seaman was about to strike the monster, but someone's spear managed to pierce him first. The man asked if he was okay. The guy assured him that he was fine, but there was a victim here. Running up to Inja, Seaman begged him to come to his senses. The man said that a rescue team would arrive soon and asked the boy to hold out until then. Seaman began to bandage the boy's wound. He used his aura power to stop the bleeding, but it wouldn't save Inja's hand. While Seaman was busy with the guy, he didn't notice the monsters approaching him at all. The girl used her aura, attracting the attention of the monsters to herself. Song Ha noted that for such a large monster, he is quite agile. She knew a way to kill him quickly, but she couldn't reach his head. The man reported that help had arrived and decided to try to join forces. Sun Ho jumped high into the air. approaching the monster's head. The girl took out her blade, intending to strike. The monster let out a long cry, releasing energy outward. The next moment, he fell to the ground, defeated. Sinkus was no longer moving, and medical teams were already on site. The gates began to close. There were only 10 seconds left before they disappeared. Seimin noted that there seemed to be something there. The guy realized that this was a disaster-level monster, System Number 1, an orc. Seimin noticed that the monster was staring at him from the gate. Inza croaked briefly, wanting to say something. The guy immediately asked how he was, but Inji only asked if the man was alive. Seimin assured that he was alive only thanks to him. Inzi noted that, although he was not a full-fledged raider, it was the least he had to do. Seimin sadly noted that the guy was right. The next day, the place where the gates had opened began to be restored, and life returned to normal. However, the battle with the monsters turned out to be not as the guy imagined it. If it weren't for Kim Seon-ha and all those people who happened to be around them, he could have died. Semin continued to work out in the gym, but he couldn't get the previous evening out of his head. Doc Bay noted that it was high time for the guy to go home. Semin didn't even notice that it was already so late. The coach offered the guy a drink. The man admitted that he was very sorry that this happened to Inze. Semin noticed that he was awakened. The coach knew about it, remembering that he was still taking exams. The guy admitted that when he first encountered the monsters, his body went numb. And while he was struggling with his fear, Inzo was wounded. He asked the man if he thought someone like him could become a raider. Doc Bay admitted that before opening the gym, he was a professional boxer. Of course, he was old, but he used to be very agile. Seaman guessed that he knocked out opponents with one knockout. The man laughed and admitted that, yes, it had happened. But then something happened that changed everything. There was one young man who died right during the battle. After that incident, the man could not return to the ring. Doc Bay asked the boy if he understood why he was telling him this story. He stated that Seaman needs to stop feeling sorry for himself. What's past is past. He's not going to lock himself in his room and whine about the mistakes of the past for the rest of his life. The man reminded that no one is perfect. Sometimes people make mistakes. They will regret what they did. Whether it was Doc Bay who landed a vital blow on his opponent, or the opponent who knew things could end badly and failed to stop. Of course, everyone feels fear, but no matter what, they must move forward. The man asked if he from the past and he from the present faced each other, who would win in his opinion. Seaman suggested that he was from the past. Doc Bay immediately stated that he didn't understand anything. In the past, he was much smaller than he is now. Of course, he won't wave his arms now. However, the man felt that he had become stronger, not so much physically as mentally. Doc Bay said the boy would be a great rider. When Seaman met the teacher at Daesung Academy, he told him that he had hopes for him. The man asked him who he would prefer as an opponent. The guy confidently answered that it was a Jorga. A moment later, a hologram of the monster appeared in front of him. Seaman tightened his grip on his weapon, preparing to defend himself. One swing, and the boy cut his opponent in two. Seaman realized that the monster was weak. He didn't understand why he couldn't do it then. The man warned the boy not to be afraid and not to let anger take hold of him. He asked if Seaman wanted to continue, and he confidently stated that he did. The guy asked to put a syncopator on him this time. The hologram of the monster appeared in front of Seaman again. The guy confidently rushed forward, preparing to attack. He ducked as the monster struck. Sinix's eyes burned with fire as he prepared for his next attack. Saming remembered that by uniting his body and mind, he would obtain Sinyaquan. The guy slashed sharply, dealing a critical blow to the enemy. The more Seaman honed this martial art style, the more he began to understand his way of thinking. The guy again remembered Inja's fight with the monsters. Seaman wished he could go back to that moment again. Meanwhile, the second phase of the Synex began. The second stage of examinations at the Writers' Bureau has begun. The venue for his exam was the Coliseum. Seaman began to put on his protective armor in preparation for the exam. The man asked what weapon he wanted to use, and the guy immediately replied that it was a sword. Even though it was a training center, Seaman didn't understand why the props looked so shabby. The guy noticed Lee Yun-hoo, the owner of the Platinum Mark, and asked if he would be the proctor today. The man congratulated everyone who passed the first stage of the exam. Now he was going to talk about the second stage, combat training assessment. Their armor was equipped with sensors that would count a fatal hit from an opponent as a defeat. After this, their movements will be immediately restricted. Their task was to neutralize as many opponents as possible. Victory would go to the last one remaining on the battlefield. The man said that after signing the documents, they would need to go to the exam location. The guys gathered in the arena, waiting for the exam to start. The voice announced that there were 5 minutes left until the start and asked everyone to wait. All those gathered whispered among themselves, deciding where it would be best for them to stand. A voice from the speakers announced the beginning of the second stage of the exam. The guy who came up asked Seimin why he was standing there. He said that he had chosen the tactic of avoiding combat and decided to watch the others for now. Turning sharply, Seimin struck the guy, but he managed to block it. He cheerfully said that he was in no hurry. The guy suggested to Seimin that they get to know each other better. The latter claimed that they shouldn't waste their time and energy on something like that. Throwing away his sword, Seimin stabbed his opponent straight in the face. The guy didn't understand what was happening and why he threw away his weapon. A voice from the loudspeakers announced that number 222 had been defeated. Number 13, First Blood. Number 13 gets extra points for winning the challenge for the first time. The men were surprised that First Blood came so quickly. The Hosan representative was surprised to hear that number 222 had been eliminated. He became curious about who got rid of this idiot. Renegade stated that the Iron Horse Association now has a talented newcomer. The Infinity representative added that he heard that her aura value was 30,000. Songha just smiled, noting that their girlfriend was very diligent. She noticed that everyone was so calm. Apparently, everyone gathered had a candidate they believed in. Numbers 185, 89, and 77 were also hit. Number 127 received extra points for a triple kill. Seimin remembered what the best demon hunter of all time once told him. Fighting with aura is like subjugating the enemy universe into your own. Fighting monsters is very different from hunting animals with weapons. In the battle with monsters, he risks his life, his universe. This is the Battle of the Raiders. Number 156 and number 66 were also defeated. The man noted that the guy was quite fast and did not understand where he came from. This kid was able to easily deal with people from Renegade and Infinity. Songha stood up, staring at the boy in surprise. The man asked if she knew him, to which the girl merely replied that she could say so. Yubi rushed at the enemy, not giving him time to recover. A few seconds later, number 27 was defeated. The girl looked around, wondering who would be next. Hearing the noise, she turned around to see a familiar face. She remembered that it was the guy who stood rooted to the spot. She remembered that back then, Seimin couldn't do anything. Smiling, Yubi noted that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. She recalled the argument between the boy and Songha, noting that he had previously been an unremarkable person. The girl's attention was drawn to the number on the guy's vest. She assumed that the guy had good skills but was deathly afraid of monsters. Yubi swung her arm, striking hard. Seimin barely managed to dodge. The guy was surprised at how fast she was and realized that her aura was no joke. The girl's next blow almost knocked Seimin off his feet. Yubi kicked the guy in the chest at full speed. The girl noted that although Seimin was losing, he continued to attack. She believed that he had an advantage over her in skill. The girl firmly stated that things would not work that way. The mere thought that someone was better than her made her explode with anger. Seimin sensed a thirst for blood from the girl, fearing that she was a monster. The sword that conquers demons. The meaning of the word contains a hieroglyph meaning hidden. It turns out that somewhere inside the sword, there is a demon hidden. The sword holds the demon inside, completely subordinating it to the owner. That is why the owner of the skill can have the same bloodlust as the monster. The girl's aura was truly incredible. Seimin didn't know how exactly she managed to manifest the bloodlust of a monster, but he was sure that what she saw that day was her fear of monsters. The boy gripped the sword tighter, preparing for a new fight. Yubi smiled, noticing that Seimin had changed. He said that he was one of those who could be quickly fixed. Besides, Seimin had nowhere to run. Yubi rushed forward, preparing to attack. Seimin rushed towards her. A voice from the speakers announced that the test was over. The second stage of the examination was completed. The voice asked all victims to follow the instructions for seeking medical help. Seimin was incredibly happy that he was still alive. The final stage arrived. Its difficulty was that the tasks were different each time. Even if writers show excellent results in the first and second stages, they can fail in the last one. Seeing the piece of paper and pen, Seimin assumed that they were going to test their drawing skills. The voice said that this year the final part of the qualifying exam is an essay. He asked them not to get up or fidget until the exam began, otherwise they would be disqualified. They had to express their thoughts on the topic, describe why you decided to become a writer, and what, in your opinion, is the main mission of writers. The guys immediately started complaining about the task, believing that it was not suitable for writers. Simin thought about when he started dreaming about becoming a writer. When he thought about writers, he remembered An Soon-jun. He always bullied the weak, including the guy. Saemin was an orphan, and by the time he came to terms with being alone, he was adopted by his current parents. His mom and dad saw their calling as raising him. They didn't always tell the guy that they loved him, but he could feel it. One day, they sat the guy down in front of them and started talking. They spoke of a specific purpose for which all people appeared for the purpose. They may have been trying to protect Saemin, since he had recently learned of his biological mother's death. The boy's mother asked him to eat well and not get too carried away with training. And my father gave me the advice to live up to my name. He explained that Si means world, and Ming means people. His father asked him to become a writer who helps people. The guy said that he would definitely do so and thank them for raising him. The voice reminded that there were only 5 minutes left until the end. Monsters have taken over humanity. The only force that can resist them is aura. Saemin wondered why she was given to him, what purpose he had in this world. He remembered the words about him not being a coward. I remembered what Imza had said about it being the least they could do, how the coach told him he would be a great raider. This was the very reason why he wanted to become a raider. Several days passed after the exam. Si-min visited Inja at the hospital. The guy was just reading a comic book and asked if Saemin liked novels. He only replied that he doesn't read such things. The guy asked when he would be discharged. In-si said that it would be a long time yet. He would have to study in bed. Saemin didn't believe that he would study, but the guy said that he was quite smart. He asked Saemin if he knew the square root formula, and he honestly answered that he did not. Ingzia laughed and declared that the guy was dumber than him. Saemin promised the boy that he would help him restore his arm, but it would take time. Inza smiled and assured that he would trust the guy and prepare to become a firefighter. Saemin was a little surprised, but the guy said that it was a very cool profession. After patting his friend on the head, Saemin said that it was time for him to go. Inzi asked when they would see each other again. Saemin replied that in 2 years. Inza said that he would visit him. The qualification exam to become a writer was completed. Saemin was called up for military service.